So guys, yesterday we finally got the reveal trailer for Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and I really have to say, looking around all social media from Twitter, Instagram, over to YouTube, in the comment section, my video currently is doing quite well, and it seems to be a lot of positivity surrounding the game. In fact, the negative comments seem to be something like, "I'll hold reservation until I see the multiplayer," or comments like, "Why did they call it Modern Warfare?" I've not really heard anyone give some real critical thinking to what they're saying before they have aired the game in what I'd call a negative light. Now, in terms of seeing multiplayer, it's the same every year. We get a multiplayer trailer to reveal what we are going to get in multiplayer. However, if you look at the trailer, and I mean really look at the trailer, we have never seen Call of Duty look this good. For those of you who are still not aware, there is a new engine, and you can say revamped, new, built, whatever you want to say. It's been built up from the ground and it is sustainable now. You can't get this sort of graphics from our previous generations. What they usually do is take the engine and then highly modify it to suit their game. It's been built with the core mechanics of Call of Duty, so it still looks like Call of Duty, but it's been built from the ground up, and that's why we're seeing visuals that are just as good, or if not better, than Battlefield. But let's get to the topic of the actual video, because the biggest gripe I've seen from the majority of people that are being semi-negative, critical, whatever you want to say, is about the title of the game, Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Yes, we've had Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, we've had the whole Modern Warfare series. Now, a few people are critical because they don't see the sense of the game being called Modern Warfare when we've technically already had a game minus the 4 called Modern Warfare. Some people feel like it's lazy from Activision to go back to this series because it's almost a guaranteed success story. But IGN actually had, and it's an interesting article which I'm going to actually read to you guys because it made more sense to me, and hopefully it will make just as much sense to you as to why Infinity Ward chose to go back to this direction. Infinity Ward's narrative director Taylor Kurosaki, I think I've said that right, I hope I have anyway. He has basically explained to IGN why Infinity Ward chose to go down the Modern Warfare title, and it makes perfect sense. So let me read the article to you guys. So Taylor goes on to say, "When we set out to make this game, we asked ourselves, what does the word modern followed by the word warfare mean? Modern Warfare in 2019 means the theatre of war is even less defined now than it was back when those games were first made. It's more complex, it's more grey, it less mimics what traditional warfare actually means." Taylor goes on to explain that since 2007's Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, the game was built on basically the aftermath of events like 9/11, Operation Desert Storm, where you saw tanks rolling across deserts fighting against enemy who were wearing uniforms and flying flags. It was more traditional in a sense. He goes on to say the battlefield doesn't really resemble that anymore. Any city can become a war zone in a blink of an eye because of the more collateral damage, civilians, airstrikes hitting their apartment complexes. So that was our leaping off point, is what he goes on to suggest for the new Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Now, this was my thought process before I even read this article. As soon as I heard that we was potentially going to get Call of Duty Modern Warfare and that it was a soft reboot of the series, I instantly thought to myself, they're probably, and forgive the use of this word because it's the only one I can really think of, they're going to take a more modern take of Modern Warfare and give us a more modern storyline, because these games are over a decade old now and things in the real world have changed a lot when it comes to the terminology of fighting and war. So on that basis, they probably still use terms like the opposing force, up for. This was used across the board in Medal of Honor, in Battlefield. You didn't really say what you were, who you were fighting, but they was the opposing force, and I feel like they will still stick to this, but it would be no secret to anyone with a bit of intelligence who they're probably going to be fighting in this new version of the game. Heading back over to the article, Taylor continues to explain the rebooted Modern Warfare will include some characters from the original game, specifically Price, while the events that happened within those previous Modern Warfare games won't carry over to the reboot. The characters' traits that made Price who he is will remain intact. When we reimagined this series, we untethered ourselves from what were the specific factual events of the previous series, and we retained what was the essence of the characters we were playing. When Price makes decisions about something, or says something, or reacts to circumstances in a particular way, you are a long-time fan of the series, you'll say, yep, that's totally within the character and what we expect within the context of what Price would do at that particular moment. So we're still going to have that empathy and that feeling towards Price as we originally have, but he will just play a totally different role. It needs to feel like the same guy who's governed by the same principles. He's a guy that's not afraid to go rogue. He's a guy who knows how to bend the rules to get things done, and he is also a guy not afraid of lurking in the shadows and fighting along the margins to be effective. So Infinity Ward have made a very conscious decision to make Price remain as the same person that all the OGs and anyone who has played the original Modern Warfare series will understand who he is. They've been true to that. It's almost like Inception in a way. They've brought him back in a different world, but he's still the same person who will react the same way that anyone who has played Modern Warfare, the original Modern Warfare 2 and 3, we would understand how he would react to situations as fans of this series. So it makes total sense. But my favourite part of the article was this part here. Looking to make a new Modern Warfare game, narrative events of the preceding 3 games had someone painted Infinity Ward into a corner. As far as modern context is concerned, by the end of Modern Warfare 3, the Russians had invaded the United States, the nukes had gone off, and to continue that storyline would have meant diverging away from what we know in the world we live in today. That series has kind of forked off from reality, so to speak. So that is clear evidence to me that they are going to do their absolute best in this new version, this new Call of Duty Modern Warfare, to be more realistic and more about the events that me, you and everyone lives through day to day, things we see in the media, things we see in the news, some of us are unfortunate enough to get caught up in. And just to concrete that, here's the final part of the article. A tenet of Call of Duty Modern Warfare has always been that it feels ripped from the headlines, it feels relevant, and in order to do that again, it felt like we couldn't continue the storyline. There weren't any sort of human scale stakes left in the world. We believe that brings today's zeitgeist into a story that feels authentic, gritty and real, required reimagining the series. So there's the explanation from Infinity Ward themselves as to why they've chose to call the game Call of Duty Modern Warfare and why they've chose to reboot the game in a soft reboot. Now, I just wanted to explain this to people that weren't aware, because there's a lot of people who have been critical and I know how Activision has treated the community over the years, and it's easy for us to, be pessimistic, and it's easy for us to think that things are going to go a certain way. But we're talking about Infinity Ward here. Their specific studio has chose to do this because they can tell a storyline with the type of Call of Duty we as a community wanted, but reflects the day that we are currently living in. So guys, let me know down in the comment section if you agree with that article. Is it insightful? Are you happy that I shared this specific article with you? I thought it was a really interesting read, and it's quite fascinating to get into the backstory as to why this game has been rebooted and why they chose to use that title again. It's a title that so many of us our hearts probably fluctuate with the fact that they decided to use this title. So many good nostalgic memories, 12-hour sessions, not even wanting to go to the toilet and come off the game. But there is a community out there who have never ever played, that they weren't lucky enough to experience Call of Duty in the modern era. So for me, this is almost the halfway house where the old will get their satisfaction from having people like Pricey still in the game that they can relate to, and the new guys will get to see a bit of the hype, but we all get a new game overall, which is just really exciting to me. And I genuinely believe that I have to commend Infinity Ward for their originality, because they were crucified with their last game. They've definitely taken everything on board from the community and have chose to deliver this. Now, I'm not saying that this game isn't going to have imperfections and stuff, but it's certainly looking promising from my point of view. Guys, there are many buttons that you could hit, but the like and subscribe button, I hope they took your fancy. And as always, guys, don't forget to stay on the right track. Peace.